Episode 8, Unraveling the Mystery. 3 months later, my heart was beating abnormally and my legs were shivering under my desk. Sweat was piling up and running across my face as I sat facing my assassin with blood-sucking eyes willing to devour me. I met with Detective Gerard a couple of months ago. He was a fine young man who was also single. I contacted him the previous week to arrange for the meeting, which was on Monday. By 10 o'clock a.m., I was waiting in his office reception area and he was a bit late. The young dashing man walked in fully suited and casually greeted me and his receptionist before walking into the office. Minutes later, he called his receptionist to let me in. I was wearing my best official wear, which consisted of a black below-the-knee pencil skirt and a tree-printed colored button-down t-shirt. My hair was packed into a bun, and my face had mild makeup with a nude-colored lipstick on my lips. I had my tag, my black bag, and wore office shoes. I walked into his office, keeping a straight face as possible, trying not to scream how anxious I was. The office was conducive and had a sweet fragrance. He offered me a seat, which I took, letting out a warm smile as I greeted him once more. I observed his countenance, and he looked gentle. Although his face showed an expression of a 30-year-old man, I could not help but notice his eyes. They had a charming expression that read, "I'm way beyond 30s." His hands, which were placed on the note on his desk, were perfectly manicured, white and had long fingers. I took my eyes off his hands when I felt his gaze on me and cleared my throat. Our director, that is Director Abubakar Maiwa, sent me to meet up with you concerning the case of our office collapse.
Oh, yes. You must be Miss Manuela then.
Yes, I am, sir.
So, what do you know about the incident?
Well, the fact that the office collapsed by a trigger, I don't know much.
There is a speculation that the attempt was on you. Do you know that?
He asked. I can't get away from people really thinking I was the target. But why will I be? Yes, although I still doubt if the attempt was on me. It's true I was supposed to host the program that day, but not just me. What if the attempt was on the other crew members?
You have a point there. Since you alone were not hosting the program, there is a slight possibility the target may be on others, but nevertheless, I heard you were surrounded by folks. Who do you think will come after you?
I smiled. Sir, in our line of job, we pose a threat to many, especially politicians. So, talking about foes, I don't have the capacity to list them because I don't know them.
Well, if you say so.
Then again, sir, I interrupted. We had a guest on the show. Why isn't this investigation on everyone? I could be the distraction they seek. He looked at me intensively, then nodded.
You are right,
He said.
I will send out an investigation on the rest. For now, avoid public places and stay safe.
I nodded. Thank you, sir, I added. He gave me his contact to keep in touch in case of any updates. 2 more weeks passed, and it seems like the investigation was going nowhere. I decided to fully immerse myself in it. I had a strong hunch about our guest for that day. He was well-known, creative, and an influential personality. We call him John Legend. His first name was John, and his surname was Ebube. John was an entrepreneur who owned a rice mill in 15 states across the nation. His rice was rich and far better than the exported rice. He was a good man, and I couldn't think of him having enemies after his life. I searched home and abroad for any known and unknown cliches, but his track records were clear. He had mutual competitors, but was wise in his business dealings. I decided to look into Mrs. story, but there was nothing. I went further to interview all crew members present, doing the show because before the collapse, but I hit rock bottom. I was devastated, tired and frustrated. Detective Gerard failed to call, and each time I called, he had flimsy excuses.
They are yet to find the culprit.
He said. I reported to my chief, but his faith in me was unwavering. Emanuela, I know you can do it. You will soon help us uncover the truth, he told me. I wished I believed him, but I really didn't. My room was scattered with sheets and paper stickers on my wall. Every point I held ended up hitting rock bottom, several endings, and no connection to the case. I picked up a piece of paper and started writing a letter to my supposed redeemer. I felt if I had someone who could help, it would ease my stress. A friend to talk to, at least. Magdalena had enough on her plate. She was pregnant and had fallen sick for a couple of months. The doctors encouraged bed rest and less stress. I couldn't add to the stress she was already in. I wrote, Dear partner, I feel the load would be less if I had met you and could confide in you. I don't know where to start, but I keep hitting rock bottom on every strand I hold. I couldn't find a correlation between a collapsed building of an organization and an individual hit. None of the victims had anything to do with this case, but I still can't prove it. I don't know if I had an enemy around me who is capable of killing. I wish we had met already. Maybe out of you may flow rivers of wisdom and mystery solving. Yours, future partner. I know I sounded cliche, but I couldn't help it. I read the letter out loud, and after which I looked up and said, God, share your wisdom with me, just enough percentage to solve this case. I woke up that morning feeling the breakage of loneliness creeping and tearing my soul, a deep desire to want and to behold. I logged online and dropped a few lines on my timeline. Rise and shine, God is faithful, I wrote, but I found it hard to believe. I needed him to show himself faithful, and since I couldn't see it, I tried to believe it. But it was a failed attempt. His timing is forever perfect, I wrote again. But deep down the question is it? Was heavy in my heart. This particular timing wasn't perfect for me. I was losing myself and wished I could quit and return home to the safety of my parents. I took my bath and returned to my previous position, where I sat staring at the several points and ends I made. An idea dropped into my heart. I quickly stood up. I rushed out. The office was fully shut and a written restriction was pasted. I showed my ID to the man in charge and asked if I could check the bleeding one last time. I had no idea what I was looking for. I just needed a clue. Anything. I went around, avoided the cracks and risks going into the only standing building, but couldn't find anything. Stones and concrete were laid down, and I couldn't pile off the remains. I lost hope. I was taking the last one out when I sighted it.